Hi, I'm Chris Heimler with Heimler Research, and today I'm interviewing Jack W. Regan regarding his latest fantasy book for kids, Regan. And here it is. And Mr. Regan, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's good to be here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Regan. I'm glad to have you. Let's get started. I have several questions for you, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this today. I think so, too. And I know our audience is really going to be interested in you, and I think a new person's going to hit the floor running. What age group is Regan aimed at?
About 13, or preteen, 12 or 13. The main character, Max Ransom, is actually 13 years of age in the story. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to appeal to obviously 13-year-olds, but maybe as early as 10 and as old as 15. It's going to depend a lot on their reading level. Mm-hmm. I don't pull any punches in the book. I mean, it's not like reading a thesaurus or anything. Sure. But a lot of the kids' books, even that I read as a kid, they sometimes make it a point to almost talk down to the reader, kids, because, well, they're just kids. They're not going to understand this or that. And I didn't deal with that at all. I just told the story like it was, used the words that are most appropriate. No profanity in the book at all, of course. But as far as length of words, I think it'll stretch a kid's vocabulary, but it has an engaging story to go along with it.
Sure. So it's something the kids will get into and really be interested in.
I think so.
And it's pretty. It's safe for the parents who have to worry. So
absolutely. Like I said, no profanity. Originally, the book was going to be aimed toward a teenage audience, but I started talking with some librarians, some youth librarians, and they were saying that a lot of the teen books today are actually almost adult, just not quite. Has almost some of the same content as an adult book, but it's dealing with younger people. Sure. And that just wasn't what Regan was about at all. Sure. So I scaled it back. Max Ransom, the main character, again, was originally 16 years of age. Scaled it back to 13.
So and I think 13 in the book.
Yeah, he is. And I think it fits the demographic and the content of the book a lot better.
Okay. And the title of the book is pronounced Regan for the audience.
That's correct.
Why a children's book?
Well, Chris, originally I started out trying to write books for adults. But I don't think my writing style was... I just don't think it worked that well, because I have a hard time taking things seriously. And I was trying to write books with heavy topics and subjects, all with this kind of a zany, almost goofy undertone in my writing. And after a lot of thought and talking with people, and then this effort, Regan in itself, I think my writing style, my sense of humor, and even possibly my set of priorities is going to fit the children's genre a little better.
Many people claim, Mr. Regan, that fantasy books are largely symbolic and allegorical. Are there any hidden meanings in Regan?
No. I mean, fantasy has...
no hidden meanings in there.
There's no hidden meanings, really. Fantasy has a reputation for being allegorical just simply because it's basically really what it is. It's a twisted sense of reality. And, for example, the Chronicles of Narnia. People for years have said those are allegories. They have to do with the Christian faith, that kind of thing. But the author, C.S. Lewis, claimed to his dying day that is not what his intention was at all. It's easy to draw a parallel in a fantasy book because people see those parallels and they say, oh, this means that, this means this. Is just speaking for myself for Regan, it's just a fun story. I mean, I'm sure there are parallels you can draw on here. The fight of good over evil, which is, you get that in most books, really. It's a plot foundation. But yeah, it's just a good story. I didn't have any hidden meanings, no agenda in the book. It's just something for kids to read and enjoy and possibly get them hooked on books, which is my intention.
Many of the books today, Mr. Regan, seem to be doing very well with wizardry and all kinds of fantasy in them. Yet you always have these groups that they seem to be offended. Is it because they look for those hidden meanings, or they want to make their own hidden meanings in these types of books, and then they have all these anti-this and anti-that?
Well, I think, first of all, you always are going to have a certain segment of the population who are looking for a reason to be offended. Sure. I know people, and probably you know people, who aren't happy unless they are offended or feel like they've been slighted in some way. You know, I grew up with a very religious background, and a lot of this stuff wouldn't have appealed to a lot of them. In fact, I remember a lot of people in my past weren't that thrilled with the Chronicles of Narnia, even though they were supposed to be about the Christian life that these people were purporting to live. As far as why fantasy offends people, I'm not really sure. You know, I think some people don't think it's serious enough. They think it's fake, which it is, but all fiction is fake. But they feel like it's almost beyond that a little bit. Like they want their kids to be to live in the real world. I've heard people say that. I want my kid to live in the real world. I want him to know what the world's about. I don't want him to use his imagination too much, which is a travesty, I think. I mean, that's the one of the building blocks of childhood and growing up. To be creative and successful, I think, is using your imagination, thinking outside the box. And I think fantasy is great for that. Yeah. People can look beyond, the perceived evil in it. And certainly there is. I mean, in this book, even, there is a evil wizard trying to do very deep harm to not only the main character, Max, but also Tarragona in general. All the creatures there, and it gets to the point where you've got battle lines drawn between evil wizard Zadok in the book and Max and the forces of good. So there's that conflict of good versus evil that is very important, but I think that is ultimately realistic. And I think kids are ready for it. I don't think if we shelter them from the fact that there is evil in the world, I don't think they're going to be any better off for that, frankly. And I think they'll be better prepared if we are straight with them and tell them this is the way it is.